Hey everyone, just had ulnar nerve transposition, subcutaneous transposition done on my left arm. I'm about 24 hours out from the surgery. From what I understand and from how I feel, everything went well. I had it done, and I'm in the SoCal area. I had it done by Dr. Shin, S-H-I-N, at Cedars-Sinai. And he came highly recommended. There was a doctor here. I moved here about 6.5 years ago and was looking for a doctor at that time, and I don't remember his name, a guy I had found on the web that was a drummer and actually had worked on drummers before. And when I found his contact information, I contacted him, and he said he had moved back up to the Northeast, but then recommended Dr. Shin above everybody else. He said it was an easy choice. He's like, go to this guy, he's the best. And so I started looking into Dr. Shin's reputation, and he has a good one, and he's worked on a lot of professional athletes. He's done the Tommy John surgery for many people, and so it seemed obviously like a great choice. And went and saw him actually 3 years ago because the pain was getting up to a level. Here's the way it works for me. I've already had In-Situ release, In-Situ, In-Situ release on both elbows. Had it done at the same time back in Dallas by a really well-known plastic surgeon named Denton, Watamull, and he did a great job 11 years ago. And like I said, both of them were done at the same time, and the recovery was really short, and everything went really well back at that time. So I need to make that clear, because this wasn't a revision of what Dr. Watamull did at that time, because In-Situ release, which if you don't know, is the ulnar nerve itself is kept in the cubital tunnel around the electronon, so it stays around that corner, that fulcrum, but they just cut away the fascia around it, kind of like that. And so it's kind of like the carpal tunnel release, where they just release the tissue above it. But of course, the reason it's obviously different than carpal tunnel is because there's still a fulcrum there. The tension still goes around the corner of the elbow. But for some people, just the decompression, so the last 11 years have been tolerable. And even up to the point of yesterday morning before the surgery, for instance, going into getting prepped for surgery, my elbows like at the beginning of the day, before I've done really any activity, my pain level is below 1. Or was below 1, and the tingling just up to these two fingers it's never bad without doing like a certain type of activity. It's never bad. So the job that was done 11 years ago was fine and was sufficient and maybe good enough. But the reason I decided to get the nerve moved is because there were certain activities that I would do, and I'd have to not do certain things, because if I did, I'd be sore for a day and a half, and I'd be sitting like this because my arms were in so much pain, and they would eventually get back down to a below 1 pain level. But I was tired of going back and forth and having it happen, kind of the rinse repeat thing. I was tired of it, and so I'm getting this done on both arms, and yesterday was round 1. So and from what I understand, Dr. Shin, and I had asked him about this before getting this done, because I had seen videos on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of you have probably looked up these videos and seen people talking about it, and seen surgeons, like if they show clips of what they do. There was several that I saw that they cut a fascial sling after they moved the nerve. They cut a sling to keep it in place. Now, Dr. Shin, when I asked him about that, I asked him what he did, and he said he actually didn't do that, which I guess it concerned me from an ignorant point of view, because I don't know all of the options, but I was wondering, well, how is the nerve going to stay in place since this is subcutaneous? If they do submuscular, obviously it's in a muscular pocket to protect it and keep it in place. And then if they cut a fascial sling for subcutaneous, then that keeps it in place. But he said, when I asked him about that, he said that he doesn't do anything like that, and he's never had a problem. And all of the people he's worked on, he said that he had never had a problem with it moving back into the channel, and he said he did something to the channel to make it to where it would move back into that area. And so I don't know specifically what he does, and I wouldn't want to say anything about it because he didn't go into any more detail about it. But at some point I'll probably ask him about him. I'll post another video just because, I mean, this is 24 hours post-surgery, and I'll do more of these after a few weeks and see how it goes. But at this point, my movement is all there. In terms of numbness, I mean, there's a little bit of pain right now, and my hand's swollen, a little bit swollen from the surgery still yesterday. Right when I came out of surgery, I was a little disturbed just because half of this finger and all of this finger and all this area up here was completely numb. And so, but late last night, it was mostly all back, and right now it's probably 97-98% there. I mean, there's a little bit more numbness there, but it's not bad. And so, and like I said, I can do this without much pain. I'm not flexing super tight, because if I get really tight, I can feel pain at the side of the incision, which I'm sure is to be expected. But I do a follow-up with the doctor on Monday. Today is Wednesday, Wednesday the 14th of October, and I'll see them Monday. And activities, I'm not sure what I'll be doing. They say that I could go back to typing, and I work at a desk job with a lot of typing, and they say I could be back to typing within 2 days, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, just use one-handed text or whatever, do hunt and peck on the keyboard at the moment. But with me, the things that started the activities that would really aggravate both of my hands were one of the things that was kind of unusual. My girlfriend and I would play, like if we play a board game, and like, for instance, Scrabble, something like that had, the little pieces that you would put around, doing detail work like that with these two fingers, after a while, it really started hurting. Things like that involved detail work with these two fingers would really aggravate it. Typing after 10-15 minutes, after typing stuff, both elbows and the fingers would start hurting a lot. So it was more detail-oriented work. And because I played drums, if I started getting into finger control things with the sticks, that would start aggravating it, actually more so than doing like heavier hits. So it's the detail work. And so even though the pain level, if I wasn't doing heavy activity, if I would, this area right here in front of the elbow, if I'd ever just kind of tap that or touch that area, even when I wasn't being very active, the nerve was still really sensitive, and it was painful for sure. So that's why I wanted to get this done, is to just get it out from underneath the fulcrum. And the concern that I had going into this also for subcutaneous is, from what I've read on the web and what maybe some of you have read on the web about subcutaneous transposition, is, well, one, the recovery period is a lot less, because since it's not submuscular, they're not cutting into the muscle, and you don't have to wait for that part to recover. So that's good, because the recovery time is less. The downside, one of the downsides of subcutaneous, is the fact that because it's right under the skin, if you don't have a lot of fatty tissue in that area and they don't have a lot to tuck in underneath, it can be more exposed and more sensitive to things brushing up on it. And I was definitely concerned about that, because I'm a fairly thin guy, and I talked to Dr. Shin and his assistant, his PA, about it. I spoke to her first about it, and she said that they had worked on people thinner than I am on it, and there hadn't been a problem. And I talked to him about it as well, and said the same thing, and that the athletes and stuff that he worked on it had like a lower body fat percentage than I do, and that they had no problems with it up to that point. So I obviously trust them, and I trust him, and so I went ahead and went through with this. And so, and of course, 24 hours later, it's hard to tell you what any sort of sensitivity is like. Of course, now it's going to be very highly sensitive, just because the wound is fresh, and all of this is done, and the nerve itself, is still slightly swollen from when it was underneath the elbow. So that swelling, I have no idea how long it takes for the swelling that's already there to go down. I mean, I know healing of nerves is a very slow process, so this is going to take a while likely. And so, I'll do whatever's necessary to be light on it. I'm not going to start drumming again for a few weeks at least. I'll have to follow up, like I said, on Monday and see what they say about that. But anyway, hopefully some of this is informative. Right now, like I said, I'm okay. There's obviously swelling here, and you know, it's really soon afterwards, and the motion is good right now, but you know, anything can happen over the next several days or weeks, and I'm hoping it goes well, and I'll try to keep everybody up on this. So if you have any questions, hopefully I can answer it, and I'm happy to respond, and I'll be posting more of these as anything changes and the progress and everything. So yeah, if this is something you're considering doing, any surgery or anything like this is probably going to be a little scary at first. In-Situ, just the decompression one that keeps the nerve under the elbow, that might be right for you. That might be the way to go for you. Don't push that one out of the way because of a story like this, because like I said, the In-Situ release, my original surgery, was successful. I would say is successful to a degree. And again, this wasn't a revision of that. So if for your daily activities, In-Situ may be the best one for you. But on getting this particular surgery done, subcutaneous ulnar nerve transposition, yeah, I was still nervous even going into yesterday morning, just because 11 years ago were kind of more minor surgeries, and this one I was like, well, should I really be doing this since it was just good enough up until now? And yeah, it's only 24 hours post, but I'm happy I went through with this. And part of the reason I'm also happy about this and confident is because of the surgeon I had, and going into it knowing the reputation that he had. So if you're in the SoCal area or anywhere near this area of California, I highly recommend Dr. Shin, and just do your research in your area for who is the best at doing this. If you're in the Dallas area, Dr. Denton Watamull, the guy I had do the release, I would highly recommend him because everything went well back at that time. So just do your research, find the right guy for you, or right doctor for you, and yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer, and I'll definitely keep you all up on this. Take care.